Welcome into another Gun Talk Hunt podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jarnagin, or KJ, known locally. So my guest today has a little bit of background, but I want to ask my audience one question. What would make a person go from the meat eater crew to all of a sudden backcountry hunters and anglers? That would be a pretty substantial move, and one I'm not sure I could make. But anyway, today's Gun Talk Hunt podcast is brought to you by Timney Triggers, the world's finest triggers. I think we all know them, we all love them, we all use them. So my next guest is Mr. Morgan Mason. I've known this guy for quite some time and met him through an outdoor organization. I believe, Morgan, if I'm not mistaken, we met at POMA, which is the Professional Outdoor Media Association. How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you doing, KJ?
I'm doing all right. We're enjoying this wonderful day, and Saturdays are for the boys, and Saturdays are our days to hunt, man. And you have been doing a lot of it. But one question, and this is going to come up, one question that I think a lot of our viewers are gonna they're gonna call me out, and that's fine. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Morgan Mason is a buddy of mine, and I know he is as rabid of a 2A supporter and hunter and angler. The guy does it all, and I'm sorry if you don't care for us having someone on from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I am sorry. However, I'm going to give him a platform, and I'm going to read a statement that Morgan actually sent to me on where they stand as regards to the Second Amendment. And it says, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, this was released in 2014. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers proudly supports the individual rights to keep and bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. I don't know what else he needs to say, but I'm going to give him a platform as to, why is he here, and what are we talking about today? So Morgan, I'm going to let you have the floor right now to answer that question for all of our fine listeners out there.
Awesome. Well, where do we start from here? You had the meat eater going to Backcountry Hunters and Anglers angle. We've got the 2A angle. Let's just go for 2A right off the bat. Let's just charge head first into this. So yes, I left Meat Eater last May. I was one of their hunting editors in the editorial department. I left them. I came on pretty early within them. I think I was the 12th employee when they came back to Bozeman, and I started from when we were in a small room with plastic chairs around it, complete startup mode, up to having around 30 or 40 employees. So going from there and coming over to Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, going from this media conglomerate that had millions of dollars of funding, going into a nonprofit position, it was 100% passion-based. It was something that I had wanted to do, specifically engage in this exact work. For years, it was part of the move up to Montana. It was something I wanted to do here, so when it popped open, I jumped on it. Like I said, it was 100% passion-based deal.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to take I don't know, but the Meat Eater crew seems to grow and grow, and, they purchased First Light, and they've got all this stuff going on, all this positive stuff, and it would definitely have to, and it shows your passion for the outdoors, obviously, but my gosh, was that a tough decision?
It took a real gut check, and yeah, it took a serious gut check to leave that sort of security. But I've led basically my whole life since I came back from Iraq in 2004, ages ago. I've led my life based on passion. I've always gone with my gut instinct, and I've never been a slave to, any sort of security. I have not led that life. And this is more of a fulfilling role for me. It's engaging in exactly kind of the work that I want to do, and it breaks me away from that corporate 9-to-5 desk job structure, and engaging in a North American campaign. But we're getting off traffic. We're addressing the 2A deal.
The 2A deal. Let's address this for our listeners out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about BHA for a second. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. They are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Their mission statement is to protect and defend public land and water access, as well as the ethical chase of wildlife. That is their mission focus. And for a nonprofit to go outside of that mission focus is called mission creep. And that takes away the money from donors, from their membership, from the board members. All the work that's being done starts to unravel the seams if you do that mission creep. And so BHA is not focusing on Second Amendment rights. That is not our focus. That's not what we work on. That's not what we do. If you want to do that, like, you need to go be a part of the NRA or gun rights or whatever 501c3 or 501c4 that is involved in that. That being said, we are in support of it. And me in particular, in my role, I am the Armed Forces Initiative Coordinator. There are 3 programs within Backcountry Hunters and Anglers right now. One of them is Hunting for Sustainability, and that is 100% focused on R3, recruitment, retention, reactivation. That's keeping hunting numbers and license sales up to be able to afford wildlife management and things of that nature. So that's the Hunting for Sustainability part. There's the collegiate program, and that is getting clubs all over the U.S. in different universities as people are going through. Some folks may be coming from home where they've been hunting, or maybe they're first-time hunters ever, but they're engaging in universities and kind of like pursuing that path of conservation. And then the third one, which is brand new, it just started June 1st, and that's what I left Meat Eater for in May, is the Armed Forces program. So this Armed Forces program, it is involved with 3 different pillars that we're building here, and that is active duty programming, veteran programming, and legislative programming. So to go to to start off with the first one, it's active duty programming. What we're doing right now is, like, we see in the military, there are a lot of installations that have a hunting club on them. Maybe some do, maybe some don't, but there's a lot of them out there. What we don't see is there's not a network of clubs that, like, link together all throughout the country. So as people PCS, meaning they get done with their duty station and they're on to the next one that they go to. That happens roughly every 3 years or so if you're not in special operations. You go from one installation to the next. To be able to understand the rules, the regulations, understanding how to store firearms on base. Like, some places you can't store firearms on base, and it makes it extremely difficult. The whole thing with the active duty side is to lower that barrier of entry and to let, like, whether it's junior enlisted to higher ranking O's, get out there and be able to experience the hunt easier and to, like, fall into that same group. And so, right now we've got 4 installations that are up and running. Fort Bragg was the first one. It's home of special operations, home of the airborne. You've got some hard-hitting folks that are out there. And
Just
we've got our first, yeah, you could say. We've got our first officially sanctioned installation club at Fort Bragg. That means that that Fort Bragg as an installation, military installation, recognizes us as a federal or a non-federal entity on their base. So we are operating directly with Fort Bragg.
Okay.
We are working on the 3 other ones right now, and that's Camp Lejeune and Camp Pendleton for the Marine Corps. So we've got Marine Corps headquarters east and west. And so as soon as we get those locked in and get everything dialed with them, we're hoping that all other Marine Corps installations will basically, like, it'll be a lot easier to get into other ones. So we just kind of tackled it head on.
Right.
And then our other one is Fort Wainwright up in Alaska. We figured we've got a great individual up there, Nate Kittredge. He is living the dream up in Alaska. They have insane amount of good hunting and just, like, I mean, it's everybody's dream to be able to go up and hunt to Alaska. I can't say everybody's, everybody's. It's certainly mine.
Anyone who listens to this, if you do have an opportunity, Alaska is on your bucket list. You probably just don't know it yet because exactly what Morgan's talking about. I've went up on an adventure, and it was, and I'm sure you've heard it here. It was the great hay bear incident of 2008. But so anyway, so what about the veterans program? What's going on there?
Yep. So on the veteran side is we are working with vets. We're kind of like focusing on 2 different routes on the veteran program, and that is, or the veteran pillar. So that is, we are doing skill camps. We just launched our first one out here in eastern Montana, and so we are bringing various entities out, and we're running these dual skill acquisition camps. And so what does it mean? Let's break that down, dual skill acquisition. So we're looking tactile and cerebral. The tactile aspect is It's everything Eastern Montana mule deer hunting. That's glassing. That's utilizing Onyx. They came out and helped us support. We actually had a vet from Onyx come out to be one of our mentors out there. We like knocked down a doe pretty close to camp, and we're able to drag it up to the road, throw it in the back of a truck, and drive it back. And we held a class on the Gutless Method of cleaning a deer. That like works extremely well when you're out in BFE in these places where you can't just like drive a gator or a truck up to and load the deer up to hang up in your garage.
Or there's no hoist. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Gutless Method, it's actually really easy. And the number one, and I actually have just put this into my repertoire for cleaning out in the field. And Morgan, I'm sure you've been doing it for years, but it's amazing. It's actually amazing. You don't have to gut the animal anymore. And what the
you're not
number
like covered up in like blood and whatever up to your elbows.
But you know what the number one worry is? The number one worry is, well, what about the tenderloins? How do I get those out? Take them out through the side, man, the top. You don't have to do anything. And it's so easy. Anyway, if you aren't familiar with it, go YouTube it. I know there's probably some videos out there. Who knows? Morgan might have a video up here pretty soon about it, but I hope you do.
I don't have a video right now, but we actually shot the video. We had a videographer come out to capture the class, and so we had him shoot that little course of the Gutless Method. So hopefully we'll be able to get some content up on that pretty soon. But it is absolutely fantastic. Just have some meat bags or game bags in your backpack when you're going out.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so easy to do.
So Morgan, these veterans that are coming in to you guys and that took this course, how are their skills? Are there a lot of skills that are transferable from military life? Because there's a lot of military guys that didn't grow up gun guys, that didn't grow up gun gals, So how are their skills transferable? And you're a veteran, and I mean, obviously your skills transfer just fine. But you're a farm boy from Kansas, and you had a little bit more experience than some of these other folks.
Yeah, well, let's take a step back real quick, because that was like that veteran camp. That was just like half of what we did. So that was the tactile portion.
Okay.
The other portion on that is the cerebral aspect. And so every night around the campfire, it was cold as hell up there, so we had a huge campfire. But every night around the campfire, we're eating chow. Thankfully, some like locals in Montana, small town little heroes had like cooked us up a bunch of food, and we just sat around the campfire and we ate and we chowed down and we talked about a few different things. And so the first thing was like, it was all cerebral based. So it was understanding what are public lands, what are federal public lands, what are state public lands, where does it go back to, and like going all the way back to the Constitution where the public lands originated from, and giving that baseline foundation of knowledge of what the public lands are, how we can utilize them, and who manages them. That just gives that educational mindset to let veterans know exactly where they're at. And then from that, we started talking about how bills go through the House, the Senate, up to the President's desk. And then we specifically talked about the Accelerating Veterans Recovery Outdoors Act, which is going through it. Just actually while we were at camp, it passed through the Senate, and now it's going up. I don't know if it's going to hit Trump's desk or if it's going to hit Biden's desk, but it's on its way up to the White House to be signed into law. And so we talked about that, and how do we as veterans utilize our voice in conservation and help protect something that we went overseas and protected, like for maybe different reasons, but now we've come back and we've got this land to decompress on.
Right.
So that was the cerebral aspect of that. And so to go back into your question that you were asking me is like about these skills and like veterans, and, as military members, like it's like the baseline thing that you go in is you go to basic combat training. You go through a basic training to learn how to kill. Right. Like we are taught how to kill. Like we're taught how to breathe. We're taught how to squeeze that trigger. Like we've got that baseline. Other folks, like, whether it's like going from somebody that works in the motor pool that doesn't spend that much time at the range to somebody that's in an ODA and all they know is the range and getting sent on overseas deployments to who knows where,
right.
And taking bad dudes down. Like all of that training, like it's an excellent point, because it's something I brought up at camp. It's like you can take all of that training that you've had in the military and all of those experiences and easily go walk out in the wilderness and have yourself an experience. And instead of like stacking bodies, like, which is awesome for the name of this country, because you're taking those bad bloodlines out, you can take that training and now go put food on the table for your family and your friends. And you can turn that's like putting a lot of guys through angst and having these issues that they're dealing with. And you can take something and make that positive and putting that into, like feeding your friends and families and having that, like those wilderness experiences, empowerment, and that community building aspect of feeding folks with a wild, nutritious game, which is
right.
amazing in my eyes.
Oh, absolutely. And my first experience with veterans and outdoors was with HAVA, which is Honored American Veterans Afield, a great organization as well. But that was my limited experience with it. But to see veterans go out into the field and get to enjoy something they love, with the shooting sports, was actually really eye-opening for me. And it's, veterans deal with so many different problems than what I had to do. I go through the McDonald's line and I'm sitting there for 10 minutes and my day is absolutely ruined. Well, these guys and gals, they go through a whole lot different circumstances than driving through McDonald's. So, that was eye-opening for me. And I got to meet Greg Stubbe over there. That was one of the first events he was on, and he's kind of taken off. But man, I'm telling you, the transformation that you see on a hunt like that has to be rewarding for you, and especially to take them from the tactile to the cerebral. Wow. Talk about a few of those experiences and a couple of the guys that maybe stood out to you on that experience.
Yeah. So I mean, the experience was amazing. It was a lot because it was our first camp, and so we were learning quite a bit, and we were hustling, and there was a lot more of engagement of the mind of like making sure we're like taking care of like the base level priorities of like making sure people are fed, making sure that we've got like warm areas for them, and like all of this, and like kind of like really hustling to make sure all of that's done, and then like looking up and then being around a campfire at like 9:00 at night with a bunch of vets. And all of a sudden we're engaged in like deep matters of like legislation. And I'm just like, this is amazing. It's just like, you get goosebumps, like seeing like this happen. And so it took a little bit for people to kind of like break out of their shell and start to talk about things, especially as we're starting to like talk about divisive things like who's in office and what are certain people doing, and looking at how BHA engages in them. And this is like another good aspect of BHA is like, we are not a partisan organization. We do not promote any or we do not like back any elected member. We will give due when it's due. We've congratulated Trump on certain things that he's done, and we're going to call out people, anybody. We don't care. Like if you go against public lands and waters or wildlife, like we're going to call you out. Like it doesn't matter who you are. Like we'll congratulate you when you do right, and we're going to call you out when you do wrong. Like right. That's our baseline.
And it's keeping with that mission focus and not the mission creep, as you alluded to earlier. And I think a lot of people on here will say, well, but I don't know. I see what they say online. You see, I mean, there's going to be haters everywhere. But just to understand mission focus versus mission creep, and the two lines shall not blur, basically.
Yeah, so it can get tricky for sure. Things like certain aspects, like certain legislation, can kind of get a little dicey on things, and it's just like it's important to remember, like we're not a wildlife habitat organization. Like we are an organization for public lands and water access, as well as the ethical chase of wildlife. That's what we focus on.
Right.
And like, we'll like certainly give our voice on like something like the Second Amendment, which we obviously support, which is like, I feel like that's come into like, it's become pretty clear that that's very important in the last like year or so.
Just a little,
to say the least. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's our MO, is like we focus on public lands and water access as well as wildlife. And like, that's what we do. And so, if somebody, there's, like you said, there's going to be haters. There's going to be that 3% that are vocal. You're going to hear about it. You're going to see them in the comment section, and you're just going to like have to cringe and just like keep on driving. Because
right.
I absolutely love my job and the work that I'm doing, and getting, for myself, when I came back from my deployment, I moved from Kansas out to Colorado. I got my first taste of federal public land, and that's where I decompressed and like ran the mountains like a feral human, like kayaked waterfalls, surfed river waves, ran around, and just absolutely loved all of that, like throttled adrenaline in a really cool way and decompressed out there. And like for me to be able to like be in this position now where I can showcase this path in this way to get people out of that downward spiral and like hopefully take a pistol out of their mouth, like that is absolutely fantastic for me to be able to like help other people or just maybe it's help or maybe it's just show the path, whatever it is.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to be in this spot.
I guess I'm kind of curious, and I know a lot of guys and a lot of veterans. Hopefully, if you're a veteran listening to this, take note, take heed. Morgan's at the end of this program. Morgan's going to give you all the information. If you want to find out more, if you want to get involved, if you want to donate, whatever, however you need to get involved, we will address that. One of the questions going through my mind, and I love hunting public land, is so if someone gets selected, or I don't know what the process is, and you can walk through that if you'd like, but are you hunting public lands, or are you like taking them on guided trips to ensure more success?
Well, so this is a good point to come across, is like there are a lot of organizations out there that are taking guys and gals out on hunting trips. Like that's not necessarily our shtick. Like we will go out on some trips that are like we will actually hunt, but there are going to be other camps that are like they're not hunting at all. Like we're lining up actually like a shooting camp for 21 that's like pistols, carbines, shotguns, and bolt guns. And like we're going to talk about the Pittman-Robertson Act and how that excise tax like funds wildlife management and like having that conversation. But to go back to that question, it's a little bit so like the one that we went on was all public land. It was an amazing area with just an obscene amount of public land out there for us to like, as far as the eye could see, you could go hunt and be on it. And we're looking at opportunities in 21. Some may be private based. And I'm with the mindset of that bleed in the dojo and sweat in the field sort of ideal. So we can go in this controlled environment where we may have a lodge or something like that, where we can go and give these structured classes and then be able to take these skill sets, empower veterans with these skill sets to go out to wherever they need to be. So it's not exactly like, it's absolutely not this like single serving exposure to the outdoors. Here's like a quick blip. It's kind of like a Fight Club, that little clip in there. It's like everything's single serving. It's like that's not what we're going for. We're going to like empower them and get them out there, and so they can enjoy federal public lands or state public lands wherever they go.
Well, and I noticed that you're kind of working with the folks at Onyx, and I love the Onyx experience. It has opened up so much for me. And any state you're a part of, they've got the lands on there, the public lands that you didn't even know existed, and which is the coolest part. But I'm glad you guys are working with Onyx. I'm glad you guys are getting these veterans out there and really showing them, that, what you came back from is more like important to everyone who was out on this side, on my side. It means a lot, and get out there, and you fought for these lands. You fought for those. Those are yours, and I think that's a great message that you guys are sending.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, like it's theirs, it's mine, it's yours, it's everybody's to like go out and enjoy and, take part in. And so, yeah, I've got to give a good shout out to my buddy Zach, who works over at Onyx. He's a veteran as well. He took some tours over in Iraq, and he was all about this. Like he was the driving success behind this first trip to really make it happen. He helped out with the location. He helped out. There was a union that all pitched in and donated money to this to make it happen. The community that rallied around it. Even a home ec class cooked up a night, I think, of like chili or beef stew for us. And so it was all like him that like helped us out with that. So between him and some of the other guys there, like a big thanks to those guys, as well as the Black Rifle Coffee Company come out, support us. They're putting together a piece on it, which I hope is going to air pretty soon. And then also we had our presenting sponsor for this whole camp was the soap company Duke Cannon, which was pretty cool to see a non-endemic brand. And they're all about like giving money to veteran organizations. And so it's super cool to engage with them and have them. They basically got us a videographer to come out and capture the whole thing. And so we're looking forward to to promote the video about that soon.
Well, hopefully we can help out any way we can. Morgan, like, how are people going to be if someone's listening out there and they want to get involved, or they want to get somebody in their lives involved with the Armed Forces Initiative of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, what should they do?
There's a lot of different ways to go about it. As far as what they want to do, like the easiest thing, and if like you believe in our cause for us, it's obviously get a BHA membership. If you get the military membership, it's the easiest one we've got. It's $15. We want to give thanks to like military members, whether you served, you're currently serving, you served in the past, or you're a veteran. It's $15. That gets you on the list. It gets you tagged in my system, and then I've got newsletters going out on the regular to make sure you know what's going on, what we're up to. And then like if you go on our website, backcountryhunters.org/armed_forces, that's the main landing page for the Armed Forces Initiative. There's a tab down on the bottom that's Armed Forces Leader Sign Up. That's a volunteer sign up for folks. Like if you are, whether you're active duty and you're going to be, so like phase 2 installation launches, we're looking at Campbell, Carson, Fort Knox, potentially Benning, and JBLM up in Washington. Those are some, like, we're looking for leadership on. We're currently got some guys on the ground kind of scoping around and finding good leadership. If you know somebody around there, we'd love to hear it. If you're a veteran and want to get involved, like, please go on there, get signed up, become a member. Or you can reach out to me directly at mason@backcountryhunters.org, or you can find us on Instagram at BHA_Armed Forces. Those are like the main kind of comms channels that we've got going right now. But there's certainly a lot to do. We're in the infancy of this. Like we're building out the pilot concepts, like building up these proof of concepts, and like everything's going wildly successful so far. And we're really looking forward in this like crazy COVID time frame where like BHA is all about this like grassroots sort of engagement where it's been very difficult, but we've still seen a ton of success in this like digital age of Zoom meetings and whatnot. So
it is in its infancy. June 1. I mean, that's pretty tough. And you know what would drive a guy to leave a great crew like the Meat Eater crew? We all know Steven Ranella and the work that he's put in with that, to Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and it's entirely passion. And if you've ever had something that you're passionate in and believe in, like our guest Morgan Mason of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is, then I think you have a little idea of why he would leave something like that. But Morgan, thank you so much for being on Gun Talk Hunt podcast. And again, go check him out.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, no problem, man. And you know what? Keep posting. You guys need to follow the Backcountry Hunters Armed Forces Initiative on Instagram. You also need to look up Morgan, because the dude hunts. I swear, I think he hunts more than I do.
I've been getting after it this season, and it's been good.
It looks great, man. But you guys take care, and as always, we'll be informed. We'll keep you guys informed. Thank you for joining Gun Talk Hunt.